Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including 11 offices in the Baton Rouge area, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank. Banking with greater momentum. At b1bank.com.
From Mansour's on the Boulevard, we're out to lunch with Stephanie Regal. Stephanie Regal is a broadcaster and editor of Baton Rouge Business Report. It's business, Baton Rouge style.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Regal. Welcome to Out to Lunch. In today's economy, branding is everything. And one way companies get their name and logo out there is by putting them on everything. Golf shirts, baseball caps, water bottles, you name it. If you look around Baton Rouge, you can see examples of this everywhere. Well, one local entrepreneur is carving a niche for himself in the field of promotional marketing by putting these logos on premium merchandise by name brand companies like Nike and Under Armour. It's an approach that's paying off for this firm, AST Marketing Group. Joining me today on Out to Lunch is the firm's co-founder, Carrie Guglielmo. Carrie, welcome to Out to Lunch. Thanks for being here.
Stephanie, thanks for having us at Mansour's. It's great.
Wonderful. And hand in hand with branding is marketing. And in today's high-tech economy, successful marketing entails more than just getting your name and logo on the pocket of a golf shirt. It means getting your message out online, on social media, and in carefully constructed content that can reach a targeted audience, often without them even realizing it. Mary Ellen Slater is an expert in that field. She used to be a columnist for the Washington Post. Today, she's built a firm here in Baton Rouge that specializes in content marketing. That firm is Reputation Capital. Mary Ellen is here to tell us about it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, Carrie, I'll start with you. When you really are an entrepreneur, you spent years on the road as a Nike rep, and you always wanted to build your own business. And here you are. Tell us how it came about.
Well, Stephanie, thank you. We feel our story is unique, and we feel with humility, but with confidence, that we have the most unique model in the state of Louisiana. My partner was at Nike for 25 years, lived in 8 different cities. He's 57 years old. He was a Terra grad. I'm a Catholic grad, 10 years younger, from Baton Rouge, and was with Nike Golf in management there for 20 years. So we have 45 years at Nike Inc. North America. We feel that that company knows a little bit about the brand thing. And we've taken those experiences and learnings and formed our own distribution company. We've been thinking about it really for 8 years. We put pen to paper 3 years ago, and 13 months ago I talked my wife into letting me leave this secure job to launch our own new venture.
And in that 13 months, not very long, but so far, so good.
We are thrilled. We have 126 clients, 87 are in the greater Baton Rouge area, 2 young sales reps that we're developing quickly, and we got a lot of work ahead of us, but we're very, very, very inspired. There's no one that's taking our approach, which is one of the keys.
What is that approach?
We, because of our network, we have gone direct with premium brands such as Nike, such as Peter Millar, such as Drake Waterfowl, such as Sims Waterfowl, and many, many, many other brands, and we've taken the promotional space to a premium level. We're not just putting brands on trinkets and trash. We're going to companies that truly value their brand. We're talking about brand elevation, P&L savings, and hopefully taking a strategic approach to the space.
So, okay, so if I had to wear a company shirt, you're saying I wouldn't have to look frumpy and stupid in it. Because if somebody told me to wear a company golf shirt, I would just die. And you're saying with your premium brands, it's a much better quality product that people are going to want.
It is. I mean, if you're strictly about price, we're not your firm. But if value and service are in the conversation, we'd love to do business with you. We just launched an extensive employee wardrobe program, is what we call it, as an example, for Mockler Beverage, from their truck drivers all the way to their executive team, with a myriad of different brands to connect with those different needs. And we do a lot more than apparel, but we do a lot of apparel. And it's been wonderful. All these big companies in this great economy in South Louisiana, they're serious about their brand, and we take their brand seriously.
Do you see more companies using this apparel, wearing this apparel, like during the work day, for instance, even across the spectrum, or is it just for special occasions and stuff?
It's for everything. It's for everyday work use. It's for events. It's for marketing. It's for client swag, et cetera, et cetera. And again, not just apparel, but any promotional items, any merchandise that Turner Industries or a Cajun Construction or an All-Star Automotive, anything that they would put their brand on, we'd love to be the provider.
And you say not just trinkets. So what's an example of some of the more higher end and truly useful items that y'all brand now?
Well, if you want to talk about Yeti, if that brand based out of Austin become a lifestyle brand, pretty fascinating what that company's done. If you think about a Peter Millar and what they've done in the apparel industry, those are the things that we talk about and lead in. And, we'll sell you a koozie as well. When we're speaking with the executive team at Performance Contractors, we don't go in talking about koozies, but we ship koozies and coffee mugs every day.
And how important when you're going into a Performance Contractors or a Turner is the selling point of having a Nike or an Under Armour brand? Does that make a difference when you're talking to these guys?
It's the number one thing we hang our hat on. The number two thing is our experience at Nike Inc. For 45 years with my partner and I. But the number one thing without question is our access to premium, which our competitors do not have access to.
Because it's just a higher quality, or because it has that cachet, or both?
Frankly, due to our connections in the business.
Okay.
We have been able to sell those brands that we will treat their brand in the appropriate manner, so we could have this unique supply chain distribution philosophy.
That's fantastic. Well, Mary Ellen, I know the growth in promotional merchandise that Carrie talks about, it sort of reflects or is indicative of the increasingly important role that branding and marketing play in all businesses today. It's all about message and brand identity, and doing that online through the written word is what you specialize in at Reputation Capital. Now, you are a columnist for the Washington Post. What made you want to leave that and start this? That's a fascinating part of the story.
Well, it's one of those things where, as you were telling your story, I heard little echoes of mine. You do something, you have a career, and you're really good at it. And you start looking around and trying to figure out what's next. And I would say that working in traditional journalism, I spotted, I guess, over a period of a couple of years that there was increasingly a need for brands to produce high-quality journalism. Some of the best-known websites right now that people were just totally devoted to reading weren't, in fact, traditional publishers. I always think of Open Forum by Amex as a great example of that. People go read that and they forget that they're reading a marketing site. They just completely forget. And so the goal of RepCap is to create that, to help companies create that content that supports their brands, because especially on the B2B side, again, it's back to that for the premium idea, frankly. It's like you can't just put a bunch of words up there. It's like it's about trust. These companies have long sales cycles. You want to really show, it's one thing to say you're an expert, it's another thing to prove it, and good content lets you prove that in a scalable way. So we help companies do that.
So you got into this when?
So RepCap, so I actually went from the Washington Post. I then went to a company called Smart Brief, which is a digital publishing company based up in D.C., and spent a little time working there. And then I wanted to move home. I tell people I spent 13 years trying to figure out how to move back home, but I had to start a business to do it. So I came on down here. I guess we've been in business now for 3.5 years.
Okay.
And it's at this point we have 6 full-time employees and then a network of a couple dozen contractors that we tap for specialty things. Our clients are all over the world at this point. I have more clients in Canada than we do here in the state of Louisiana, which baffles me every time I have to take those checks to the bank. But it's been really
How did you
exciting.
get Canadian? I mean, how do you get clients all over the world? Is it word of mouth? Is it through your connections?
Yes. So it's a lot, actually, and it's our own marketing. So it's a combination of referrals from existing clients. It's our own content marketing is like the primary engine of that. So we don't just have to go around one-on-one with people in the community where I live, like meeting people and telling them about this stuff. People find our website, they read our blog, they download our white papers, they sign up for our newsletter, and whenever it comes time that they need content, they know us. Like people call us and they talk to us like they've known us for years, and all they've done is read our website.
That's fantastic. So if I brought my company to you, or say Carrie brings his company to you, what do y'all do?
So the first thing we want to do, sure, and we want to figure out who are you trying to reach. So it's the same old marketing, approach. Like who's your persona, who's the buyer that we want to get. It's like whose attention do we want, and then what do we want them to do when we get them. And in this case, I would look at like who the buyer is. Who are you trying to attract? Actually, give me an example. Who's your buyer?
Buyer would be T. Brown at GMFS.
Okay. So what kind of stuff does that person like to read when they're not, they're either for work or for fun?
I would say most probably for work.
Okay.
I would say.
Give me some magazines. Give me some newspapers. What do they like to read?
Wall Street Journal, for sure. Business Report.
Oh, good. We like
yeah.
that. That's definitely on the list.
The coffee table piece in Baton Rouge. It's, of course, becoming more online based. Likes to read a lot in LinkedIn and blogs and those types of things.
So we start figuring out where they hang out and what they like to read and what are their problems that they're trying to solve. So what are the things that you can give them advice on? I don't mean to pick on you and sort of make your business my case study in this conversation, but you know your customer really well, and I bet you know what their common questions are and their common issues are. But so what we would try to do is figure out how to create, essentially, make your publications, your website, your email newsletter, whatever it is that you send out, that it would be a reflection of that expertise, and that it would be written in a tone and just a subject matter and style that match the other things they like to read. So we take our cues from that. So for actually a good example of that, even with looking at the business report, it's the difference between In Register and the business report. They're read by completely different audiences, right? So we write in a different tone, we cover different material, and so businesses it's very similar. It's like you take that brand and you figure out what is the publishing brand that's an extension of that.
Can you take a look at my website this evening?
How much of a role does social media play in all of this?
It's huge. It's huge. It's because that's what lets you can have a website and it can be the best material. It can be just total great proof of your expertise. But if people don't know about it, if they don't have a way to share it, it doesn't matter. You could be writing the most amazing material, but if there's no way to get it out there and sort of build up that network. And social
are websites still as important as they were, say, 5 years ago, before the pervasive handheld device and social media?
More important. They're more important than ever. And what you want to look at it is really you have to look at it in a holistic approach. We tend to divide it up into owned media, earned media, and paid media, right? I don't know if any of you have ever heard that sort of breakdown, but owned media is, to my mind, still the most important because it's the thing you can control. Your website belongs to you. You can publish anything you want on it. If you decide you don't like it, you can take it down. You can make changes to it. Facebook, while wonderful and can help you, and LinkedIn can help you reach this wide distribution, in the end, it's not yours. It's not your channel. It's not your content. You're just kind of at the mercy of whatever they feel like doing. So the way this works the best is when you have your own great owned content. It earns you mentions in the media because you're an expert, and then you also throw in a little paid to turbocharge that. That's usually you want that holistic approach. If you rely on any one of those, just one of them, you've got. We talk about the stool that needs 3 legs. It's like, don't leave yourself just sitting there on one stool. Right.
I mean, it's funny because I guess branding and marketing used to sort of be an afterthought for a company, or it was something but today it almost has to be at the forefront. I mean, before you do anything else, you have to have your good product, but that has to be.
We find it doesn't matter what space you're in. If you're in the automotive space, if you're in the petro-industrial space, the PR space, brand, we feel, has never been higher on the priority ladder.
And just the growth of your company in such a short amount of time shows how important it is to.
Well, thank you. We've got a lot ahead of us, but that's nice of you to say.
That doesn't surprise me at all. As somebody who goes to a lot of conferences and we work with our clients, the majority of the promotional products that are available are not things that you would naturally want to wear necessarily, or keep, they're just not the versions that you would want. So I'm very excited about this.
Thank you.
I just wonder what goes through somebody's head. I mean, when you see the pen that has Turner Industries on it, or the shirt, or the koozie, or whatever, the really nice bag, is it on some conscious level that just makes you feel good about that company? When you see the name, for instance, you get.
Well, I think the human element plays a role. Everybody wants something for free. Everyone wants something that maybe they can't have. Now, of course, budget always plays into this. I don't want to say that that's not part of the process. If you're doing giveaways at a trade show and you're an insurance company and you're giving out 10,000 widgets, of course, price plays a major factor. It always does. But it's brand and specifically in the brand world we live in today, the fashion world, the amount of media exposure, it's in everyone's mind space now, we feel.
It is.
And I would also say, especially I think in both of our businesses, it's more about value than about low price. Because I think what you can do both with sort of the products that you guys are selling and then with content, there are low value ways, or like they're inexpensive ways to get those things out there, right? You can get cheap koozies, you can get cheap content.
Sure.
However, is it actually going to be the reflection on your brand that you want? Because I think it does matter. When you pick up a nice pen and think about how a nice pen feels in your hand, think about the difference between a nice shirt and a shirt that you
cheap, ugly
a cheap, ugly shirt, and how they make you feel. Which one are you more likely, in the case of the items, to keep using every day and look at every day and get that brand impression? And then with content, it's a similar kind of relationship. You can get cheap content that somebody glances through, clickbait, looks at, doesn't do anything for them, and then they just are annoyed and move on, or if it's full of typos or anything like that. Or you can get high quality, matches your brand, builds that sense of trust, you get a good association there.
Well, speaking of building a brand, we have an aspiring entrepreneur joining us today who has a brand that is growing in popularity in Baton Rouge foodie circles. And with a company name like Bacon Nation, it's not hard to see why. This young entrepreneur is Trey Bacon. That's actually his last name. We met Trey through the Louisiana Business and Technology Center. The LBTC is a business incubator that offers the resources of LSU to entrepreneurs and innovators. And Bacon Nation is about a one-year-old Baton Rouge-based food company that has a signature barbecue sauce, right, Trey? And more products hopefully on the way one day.
Yeah, we have one product out on the market, and it's a sweet tea-based barbecue sauce.
Okay.
It's a little bit different than anything else you can find. A little thinner, very versatile. It goes great with fish, chicken, beef, pork, even roasted vegetables. In the farmer's market, we serve raw vegetables, zucchini and squash with it. And it's been fantastic.
How did you come up with this idea?
I love to cook. I've loved to cook since I was 8 years old. And my parents gave me a grilling cookbook when I turned 15, when they thought I was old enough to actually touch the grill in our house. And there was a basic sweet tea barbecue sauce recipe in there, and I liked it, but it wasn't great. And I started taking it and making it my own, and it took me probably till I was about 22 to get the recipe just right. And people were telling me, you need to put this in bottles.
Really?
Yes. And I had just come out of college, and I was telling these people, there's no way someone's going to buy my product.
Were you a business major in college?
I was a finance major.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to do real estate, and ended up working for Mockler Beverage for a little bit, and then was at my buddy's T-shirt company, Southern Marsh. I don't know if y'all do anything with them.
Sure.
But I ended up in a warehouse management position, and it wasn't what I love to do. And so we started doing the barbecue sauce stuff, and we've been going at it for a whole year, and I've been overwhelmed with how much people want to buy this stuff.
And this is probably so much more fun.
So much more fun.
Especially if you can make enough money to support yourself at it.
Yeah. And I mean, we were doing this while I had another day job too, just so I could pay the bills and everything. And like I said, it's just been unbelievable.
How are you going about getting shelf space? I know that's a big challenge.
It is, and I've been very fortunate. A lot of the grocery store owners here in town know about the LSU Food Incubator, which is, I think it's a little bit different than the LBTC, and they help, mom and pop companies like us go from making stuff in their kitchen to putting it on the shelf. I mean, we're FDA certified, DHH approved, and all that. And the grocery store owners know that being backed by the food incubator, we have a good product.
Right.
And so I just walk into the stores and say, hey, I'm with the food incubator. I have this barbecue sauce. And they say, all right, we'll give you a chance to sell it.
Does the incubator help you open the doors for you, or it's up to you?
It's up to me. I mean, I'm doing all the work. They aren't making the phone calls for me, but just being partnered with them is a huge, huge resource.
What do y'all see, Carrie, Mary Ellen, as some of the biggest challenges that a company like this faces as it tries to grow its brand?
You should look for ways to sort of turbocharge your referral network. This is where social can help, actually.
Okay.
Make it easy for people to talk about your brand. Like I've heard it said there are really only two parts to marketing, or at least word of mouth marketing, is one is be awesome. So have an awesome product.
Sure.
Like step one.
No problem.
Step two, make it easy for people to tell other people how awesome you are.
So like you're talking about Instagram and Facebook and all
anything like Instagram, Facebook, email,
Okay.
Any kind of referrals. I feel like corporate giving could be one. Like if you can get into gift box and partnerships and things.
We've done a little bit of it, but we could probably do a little bit better on that.
Can you get in front of John Foles? Can you get in front of him and tell him who you are and what's the benefit of that? Have you ever considered having a board of directors? I get asked twice a week, Kerry, you live in the promotional merchandise space. Why do you have a board of directors? And I say, well, why wouldn't I? They're free. They're free, and they're a group of advisors for me. And it just, how do you broaden your reach? I mean, because if you get a meeting in Bentonville, of course, I'm talking about Sam's and Walmart. It's going to very quickly get beyond the sugar ratio in your recipe, and you're going to be talking about a sales margin turn and metrics. And I mean, they take a Louisville Slugger to Coca-Cola. They'll do it to you in a heartbeat. And again, that's down the road. You're doing all the right things. Just keep grinding every day.
So, Kerry, what was your first job?
I started my career in New York City with a sports marketing firm, Advantage International. They've since been bought out, but an incredible exposure for me. Didn't make a lot of money, but jumped on a lot of planes, had a decent expense report, met a ton of people. And I would say more than anything, it broadened my scope relative to my my desires on what I wanted to do with my career. And I always positively reflect upon that 4 years at that firm.
Quick follow-up that I'm just thinking of. You're a local Baton Rouge guy. First job in New York City, it must have been a culture shock, something of a culture shock?
It was. My uncle, I was fortunate, was in the sports field. He got me in the field. But I leaned on him for a lot of years. But it was a culture shock, but I was enamored with it, though, and the experience, and
it's a good age to be up there.
It was incredible, and again, it was great for me.
Okay, well, now we're going to check our inbox to see what questions have come in from our listeners. Kerry, this question comes from Jeff Peterson, who wants to know, does working with name brand suppliers only eliminate the need to worry about quality control, or do you still have to deal with manufacturers and, overseas, China, worry about the QC, or does Nike take care of all that for you? Or
absolutely, we have to deal with that. And again, we do such a wide variety of products. We also do what we call all of the Me Too products. You know what? It pays the bills. And we don't shy away from it. But we have a very aggressive import program. My partner and I brought to market from our experience at Nike, and that's always an issue. It's about creating your network of trust, because there's a lot of touch points from obviously delivering product from point A to point Z. And although it's not rocket science, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. You got to be very buttoned up.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Mary Ellen, this question comes from Edward Cangelosi. Some people say while Facebook revolutionized social media, it's sort of past its prime and isn't growing enough young users. Do you agree with that? And where do you see Facebook sort of on the spectrum of social media?
I would say that Facebook is still the dominant player here. I mean, we're all sort of got an eye out looking for the next big thing, what's the up-and-coming network. And depending on who I wanted to reach, I might look beyond. But for the general audience, it's still Facebook. I mean, what other place are you going to find, teenagers on up, to grandmas? I mean, the fastest growing demographic still on Facebook is people older than 55.
Well, I believe that. I mean, you can look at everybody that we know.
Those people have money, unlike those teenagers. Everybody starts worrying about what the teenagers are doing, but it's like where the bulk of the primary consumer in this country for B2B and B2C is still very much engaged in Facebook, and it's a very sticky site, right? The problem is that none of the other sites have quite the same stickiness. So LinkedIn, very important for work type stuff, but I mean, we all keep our LinkedIn profiles up, but do you just hang out and look at LinkedIn the way you sit and look at Facebook? No. I mean, for the younger kids, it's Snapchat, it's Instagram. It's a lot of it's looking for more of a visual approach. That's a place where Facebook doesn't necessarily meet everybody's needs, depending on what you're trying to sell. But no, I don't think Facebook's dead at all. You show me what's going to replace it, but for now, I don't see anything even close to the kind of dominance they have.
That's great just to hear. That's
feedback.
I know.
Do y'all hang out on Facebook a lot?
We do.
I mean, corporately,
and
I
didn't know what
personally.
Facebook was 15 months ago, and I was, my buddies are kidding me now, because I make 2 posts a day. I make one at 10 Central and one at 3 Central, because a book I read says that's what I'm supposed to do. I found an incredible hire, a young sales rep, because of a post on Facebook, which his aunt got to me because of a post that I did. And it may be the most important thing that happens to AST in calendar 15, finding this young man.
That's fantastic.
The scope is broad, and let's face it, and we live in somewhat of a one-up-the-Jones society, to a degree. And people like to know what's going on. You have to be highly visual, and you have to do it in a professional. We are entertaining, having an agency of record do that for us consistently, so I can focus on other things. And it's free.
It's, it's just a whole different way of thinking, really, though. You have to constantly be putting yourself out there. I mean, I like to put myself out there. I write for a living. So, but just to constantly be promoting yourself. Like, I always felt like that wasn't in good taste. And you have to get over that.
You do.
You really have to get
really
over that.
And I would say the other thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about social media, when this is true of Facebook, it's true of Instagram, or whatever it is that you're posting on, and Pinterest would actually be a good one for you guys if you haven't looked at it yet, because it's visual.
Sure.
It's like with these promotional items. So it's not just for weddings. So it's not just for wedding planning.
Yeah.
But like what I find is that something that's actually that I heard whenever I was I think it was at South by Southwest, and it was like a neuroscientist talking about the neuroscience of social media. And he said there's one reason and one reason only why we go on these sites, and it's to see what other people are saying about us.
Interesting.
So that's interesting. You think about people tagging you, like, and how that gets your attention. You're looking to see what other people, like if somebody tags you on something, you immediately go jump on the site and see what that person said, right? So you have to think about it that way. When you use social media for marketing, you've got to be driven not so much by here's what I want to tell other people about me. It's got to be about how do I get them to think I'm talking
about
to them. It's a different mindset.
Well, Trey, your question comes from Jordan Phillips, who wants to know, how important has social media been in the growth of Bacon Nation?
It's been really very important. I'm not a big social media guy. I have a Facebook, but everyone was telling me that I have to get an Instagram and I have to do posts constantly. I'm not one to go out there and make the posts. I mean, you were talking about self-promotion. Like you said, I feel like it's not something that I need to be doing, but I'm learning.
It is.
It is. And, I'm trying to do, I'm not 2 a day like you are, but I'm trying to do at least twice a week.
Well, Carrie Guglielmo, Mary Ellen Slater, and Trey Bacon, you're all doing very different but interesting things with the marketing and branding realm. It's fascinating to hear your perspectives on the importance of branding and marketing and the sheer growth of this industry over the past couple of decades. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today with us on Out to Lunch.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
My guests today on Out to Lunch have been Carrie Guglielmo, co-founder of AST Marketing Group, Mary Ellen Slater, CEO and founder of Reputation Capital, and Trey Bacon, founder of Bacon Nation. You can find out more about AST Marketing, Reputation Capital, and Bacon Nation Foods by following the links on our websites, wrkf.org and itsbatonrouge.la. Today's show was recorded live over lunch at Mansur's on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Mansur's serves lunch daily from 11 to 2, dinner nightly, and brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Morrell. Our associate producer is Peter Raschuti, and our business consultants are Charlie D'Agostino and Ann Edelman. You can see photos from this show on itsbatonrouge.la and on our Facebook page. These photos are taken by Ken Stewart. You can get this show as a podcast, you can listen to past shows, and you can keep up with all kinds of social media by going to our websites, itsbatonrouge.la and wrkf.org. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsbatonrouge.la and WRKF 89.3 FM. I'm Stephanie Riegel. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Mansur's for more business Baton Rouge style on Out to Lunch.
Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout Baton Rouge, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum.